What's up, guys? It's your boys Awoki back at it with some more of the Chris Watts case. And today we're going to be taking a look at Jim Gutowski. It's probably Jewish, but with that being said, we're going to be taking a look at him and why everybody kind of pushed him aside when apparently he was more involved than we think. Is he more of an alibi or was he a accomplice? Now we're going to be taking a look at all that right now. So grab a chair and get ready to dive even more into the Chris Watts case. With you guys watching at home, we're going to be looking into it of this Jim, the man of the mistress. If that makes sense. But before we go any further, if you guys could do me a favor and subscribe to the YouTube channel by hitting that white bar icon down at the bottom right. Hit that bell icon next to it so when I do post videos like this one, you guys will get that little ring notification that Wilkie myself has posted that video, and then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, thank you guys so very much for the love and support you guys have been continuously showing. We're almost at 32,000 subscribers. We're trying to get to 50K so I can give you guys, or one of you guys, a Meta Quest virtual reality headset for free, and I'd like to do it before Christmas. So we have 15 days until that happens. So make sure you guys subscribe, comment, like, and share. Win Meta Quest 3 on the video of the giveaway. I'll post that in the link in the description. And when we get to 100,000 subscribers, I'm going to give away 2 more, and I'd love to give you guys some of that content or that gear, including free t-shirts and posters and all that above. But with that being said, we're going to be getting into a couple videos. One is going to be pretty much her interview, the full interview, but her talking about leave Jim alone. She got so upset when they're like, what about this Jim? What is he? She's like, leave Jim alone. She got hostile with him, which is kind of weird. Apparently she was talking with him the morning of the murders, which again, her phone pinged in that area. I looked into it as well. People were stating that apparently that was the only tower in Frederick, Colorado, or in Colorado for that matter, for her to even ping off, which doesn't make sense because there's 3 where she's located, including her job site, but her phone, only time it ever pinged was that morning of the murders. Now, apparently her alibi was that she was with Jim that morning. She was with Jim after work. She messaged Jim during that day, but she never clocked in to work, but she clocked out of work at 3:15, which again, they never looked into the cameras of her arriving to work or leaving work, which is very weird. She later also stated that she wanted nothing for the police to interrogate or investigate or interview Jim at all. When did she start calling the shots? If the police and the FBI and all that stuff wanted to look into Jim, they have every right and they have every decision in making that matter. But apparently Nichol was like, don't you dare look into Jim. I want him left out. I don't want his life to be ruined. Nichol Kessinger calls him her little buddy. In this clip that we're about to watch here, which was an on and off relations that she had with Jim. This also brings the question is, like, was he involved more? Was he an actual alibi? They never even looked into the alibi to begin with. They didn't look to see her movement and all that. Like, there's so many irregulars and inconsistencies with looking into her GPS. They even said, we're going to look at the GPS and where you were at the morning of the murders. They didn't. They were going to go talk to Jim until Nichol Kessinger was like, leave him alone. Why? Does he have incriminating evidence that would put her at the scene? There's also rumors and theories that Jim doesn't even exist, that he is a complete made-up person to make it look like Nichol was not anywhere near Frederick, Colorado, where Chris lived. Is that the case? Looking into Jim, said Jim, his Facebook is very limited, looking at his nickname was Guto. He went to high school and then college in Brookfield Central High School, graduated in 2000. At that time, he's 6 years older than NK. I mean, who cares about that? his Instagram is completely gone. His Facebook is very limited. He's never after the murders took place, he stopped posting to his family's public Facebook. I mean, it's probably unwanted attention that he's gotten, but again, why would people be so invested into Jim when he has nothing to do with it? Why are we leaving Jim alone? Why does Nichol not want us to talk, or why didn't she want the police to talk to him? He was in the same field as she was, geology, study of rocks and so forth like that. But it's just so funny that he went to the University of Milwaukee in Wisconsin. He was born in, what do they call it, Brookfield, Wisconsin. That's an hour away that I found out if I post it up here for you guys. So Brookfield is where he was located. That's where his phone pinged up on Nichol Kessinger, because they looked at her transcripts of when she talked and called and stuff like that, which she did talk to Chris a lot that morning, but then she talked to somebody from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Lo and behold, it was Jim. Could it be a burner phone that could be completely out of the normal and make it look like there's a Jim character? Possibly. But the funny thing is apparently when all this took place and went down, Jim left Colorado. He went back to said Wisconsin at a new house location. Is this possibly the safe house that Nichol spoke of, which was very odd? Why would you tell law enforcement about a safe house? What would you need a safe house for? So she mentioned that she has a safe house. She did also mention to Chris that I can't talk to you anymore after he was, right before he was taken away, that she needed to clear her head, get away from all this because this was just too much. She said she was going to Jim's location, house, apartment, whatever have you. Could that have been the safe house in Colorado? Or could that be possibly that she went up to Wisconsin? But the weird thing is Wapung, or Wapun, is where Chris was transferred for security and safety reasons from Colorado, and he was sent to Wisconsin, where he's going to eventually live out his days at this location, which is an hour and 9 minutes from where Jim was located. Am I onto something, or is this just a coincidence? Is this we're looking too far into it? It's just so uncanny that he went to Wisconsin instead of all the prisons that are out there. He went to Wisconsin. I'm just throwing that out there. So it could be something weird in itself. Now, when you actually look up this Nichol, or not Nichol, but this Jim, apparently 3 names come up, which the one stated that he graduated in 1968. There's one that graduated in 2000, but it's not the Jim that we know about, which is very confusing. In that whole almost 2,000 pages of the sentencing and all that stuff, the evidence that they used to sentence Chris Watts, and not one name or one time named Jim or Charlotte Nelson, which is her 2 closest friends, which she did state that she told them to delete all of conversations before she told Chris to delete his, and then she deleted hers. You can't tell me that's weird. Just throwing that out there. Now, looking into it as well, the Ruseks definitely have mentioned that they want to be respected and just not looked into the case, which I understand very much so. But I'm not saying anything bad about Shanann. I'm not saying anything bad about the girls. I'm not saying anything about their part of the family. I'm looking into Nichol Kessinger and Chris Watts. So I'm leaving Shanann, Bella, Cece out of it. But the funny thing is the brother stated that all of us YouTubers know nothing. We know zilch, which we probably don't. Which we probably are just on some cloud 9 and looking at all this evidence. But again, this evidence looks way too scary, way too inconsistent, way too out of the norm for all this evidence to go poof. But he never said anything bad. I'm not getting into Freddie, because Freddie he's a great guy. I've seen him in the interviews and stuff like that. So they just mentioned that they want this to just die, but why do you want it to die? They state that they know more evidence than we know. But should that be public seen? Why is it being hidden? Why is it being secret? I just don't get it. There's so many irregularities and inconsistencies with Nichol deleting her messages, pictures. She's put her pinged in that morning of the murders. She didn't show up to work on time in the morning. She clocked out, but then when they looked into to see if we could get surveillance on that, we couldn't find it. Chris mentioned that he contacted the video surveillance and wanted all that footage deleted. He wanted to figure out how to delete it all. But instead, the camera remote went missing. They didn't pull the Ring camera footage when he drove past. I mean, again, not to get into all this again, but looking into Jim, is Jim an alibi? Jim an accomplice? Or a Jim an excuse? There's a lot of stuff that's going on with Jim. There was a picture posted not too long ago, if I pop this up for you guys to take a look at. This happened after the murders. So this picture was after the murders taken place. Apparently this is old friends, new beginnings. So is this Jim, or is this somebody completely different? But looking at his Facebook, when I looked at it, they look similar, but I don't feel like it's identical people. Okay? I mean, I've been reading all about this morning and looking into it. It's like a story, but things are taken out of the story, and we can't finish the story because we don't have all the content. Now, I'm going to look into the video. We're going to look at two videos. One is from a YouTube channel of Crime Talk, which I love this.
Good day and welcome to Crime Talk.
Channel. This channel goes over tons of different crimes, which we're going to be starting to look at other crimes as well, not just Chris Watts. I mean, you guys want me to continue Chris Watts, which we will be doing, but there's a whole bunch of other crime and murder and all that stuff that you guys want me to look into. There's one that really hits home with me. I can't remember the name of the girl. I'm drawing a blank, where her daughter went missing and she got off scot-free. I don't even know how that happened. She was partying and her daughter went missing. I can't remember the daughter's name, but I want to look into that case as well. But back into Jim, there's a Reddit post, Watts Case Evidence, which you guys should join. I have joined myself. It's 3,000 members. Apparently they're talking about Jim. So I'll post that down in the description for you guys as well. But let's take a look at this video about when Nichol talks about Jim and leaving him alone. So let's take a look.
That's what I was showing Mark the other day. And I got home to go meet my buddy. One of my good friends was coming over to my house. And he actually has a key to my house. So he was actually there when I got there.
Which Chris and him both had keys to this apartment.
And
who's that?
My friend Jim. And so Jim came over and I got home. He was there. He had just walked in the door. And I remember briefly after he got there, I checked my texts. I mean, briefly after I met up with Jim, I glanced at my texts. And Chris said something about my family's not home, or
they're gone.
My wife and kids aren't home, something to that effect. And I told Mark, because he asked me for a time, and I don't have an exact time, but I remember it was right after I walked.
That was a text message.
Yeah.
When your phone gives you the exact time on each text message, just stating.
Yeah, it's in a text, and it's it was briefly after I walked in the door, so based off how long it takes me to get home from work and when I clocked out, it was probably about 3:45 p.m. Texts me and tells me that. And he knows when I get off of work too, so he doesn't always bug me if I'm busy. So I don't.
Which apparently this gym was very weird, very sketchy, very obnoxious that I've looked into the descriptions about gym. So just weird.
Know what's up with that, but that's when he sends that to me, and
So you're saying that he would have known that you would have had your phone available to you and not been at work when he sent you that text message?
yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
So looking back at it,
How does that make him an alibi?
purposefully sent at that time?
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm just asking your feeling on that.
Yes, and then he said, "Call me when you can," and I was
There was
like,
no other communication between you and him that morning on Monday morning.
"Well,
at all.
there was, but it was like random, like
But nothing about this event.
no.
About like my wife's missing or
No,
anything.
nothing,
Okay.
nothing."
And you knew he wasn't coming to the office because he had told you that Sunday night.
Yeah, and then he goes, and so, like, they're only in the office for the morning. Like,
Right.
some days it's longer than others, but I would say by a maximum of 7:30 every single morning, they are all gone. And they don't come back unless they have, like, a meeting or something that they have to attend. So, like, not seeing him for the rest of the day is not, like, an unnormal thing.
Right.
Like, but like I'm saying, like, we don't really, the only reason we interact was kind of, like, by an off-chance thing. Like, I don't work with him.
But
So
they're both
he,
educated in geology.
yeah, we talked like randomly throughout the day, but it was really sporadic, and he seemed pretty busy, so we didn't talk too much. Like I said,
Which we never got to see their transcripts about their talks because they deleted it all.
I didn't put too much thought into it. It happens all the time. Waited till about 3:45, then sent that text to me, and yes, he does know that I will be home at that point, or getting
Weird.
home.
Did
Like,
you give Mark Jim's information?
no, I would really not like to involve him in this. He does not know about this. He was not, like, he doesn't know any of this is occurring.
Okay.
Like, I was literally
So
trying to...
he knows certainly through the media that something's occurred.
Yeah, he's
With
like out of
Chris.
town. He's probably has no
Okay.
idea. He doesn't know
Okay.
who Chris is.
He's out of town because he went to Wisconsin.
Like, he's not, I do not know.
So he's just a friend of yours.
Yes.
Um,
He does
that
not need
was
to be
coming
dragged
to
into
your
this.
apartment and doesn't know anything about Chris. Does he know anything about
No,
Chris? Okay.
nothing. Absolutely
Yeah,
not.
we've known Jim for
Which apparently there possibly was a theory that they were doing a threesome, which I don't care about. But apparently Chris rolled both ways. So that's probably another lie. And then here comes the dad to talk about his involvement, which the dad shouldn't be there to begin with.
Yeah.
years and years.
You're
Yeah.
not dating him or anything like that.
No,
It's just a
he's
friend.
like one of my very good friends. Like, my dad knows him. He's a great guy. He works out of state a lot, so when he's in town, we hang out. But when he's in town and he's off of work, to save time, so I give him a key to my house, one, because I trust him and he's one of my best friends, and two, because sometimes he will just meet me there.
So I'm not trying to just make this an excuse, but girls don't have guy best friends a lot of the times, okay? There are probably some out there that you do have one. But when a girl says that she has a guy best friend, it's usually a guy that's on the back burner. It's usually a guy that is waiting for the marriage or the relationship to be done, and then he swoops in. There are some times where it could be sincere, where a girl does have a guy best friend, which is very rare. And second of all, the guy is gay. I'm not stating anything bad about that, but I'm just saying in Nichol Kessinger's case, when she says her buddy, I think it's somebody that she's been with, intimate, didn't work out, and only comes around here and there. I mean, this is all speculation as well. It's not just mine. It's all, there's more people out there that are stating it, but I'm just stating girls don't usually have guy best friends. They have girl best friends, but I'm just saying, what do you think? Do you think Jim is a best friend, or do you think he's a best friend with benefits? Let me know in the comments.
Because I'll be like, hey, I'm getting off of work, and then if I get stuck in traffic or something, he ends up like sitting outside of my apartment waiting for me to get off of work. So I'm like, here's a key, and like my dog loves him and stuff. So no, he's not
So he's just
involved with
family
it.
friends.
Yes, I don't even
The only
want
reason
him
I asked,
dragged into this.
and I'm not really concerned about your location. I think we already have your cell phone records. At some point, did Mark ask you to?
Which was very inconsistent.
Did they ask for consent to get cell phone records? That'll probably be done by warrant. If we
Isn't
wanted,
that what you just did?
nope. what I'm talking about is your movement
Oh.
by GPS or by cell phone tower to show where you were. Obviously, and I don't want to cause you concern, we want to know where you were that day too. You're dating a man who did some egregious stuff, and we want to show that you were never near him that day. Period.
I mean, you guys
So-
can track my
No,
stuff.
yeah, I mean,
Which they
was
didn't.
something we'll have to get a warrant for, anyways. I'm just saying, if we asked for it,
Once Chris confessed, they didn't even look into it. They should have continuously looked at it. They need to look at it.
would you have any objections to that?
No, you can have
Right.
it.
So,
If I'm a pretty boring person,
well,
I don't
it sounds
go
like
too
you
many
just went
places.
to work that day, and then you came home, and you were there at 3:45.
Yeah, like give or
Monday.
take like 5
Yeah,
minutes.
right.
But yeah, so 3:45, I meet Jim.
She never
there.
clocked in.
Yeah, I would
And
totally.
so
bet.
Jim is understand from an investigative point, he could be a person who could say, yeah, I was there at 3:45. He doesn't know Chris. He doesn't know anything. He could say with one phone call, yeah, she came in at 3:45. Done.
Totally.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Never
I don't
did.
have to ask anything more than, hi, Chris, my name's Kevin. Or Jim. And I'm not saying you have to give it to you.
Just leave Jim
But
alone.
if
Jim does
at
not need to
some
be wrapped
point-
up in this.
If at some point I need it,
So they literally wanted to ask him. They want to call him up. She doesn't want them to call him. Leave him alone, she says. Why?
Jim's info to, let's say we couldn't find your phone records. Would you
You
tell
can
me who
have
Jim
them.
is?
I will give them to you.
Would you tell me who Jim was if I
If
couldn't
you
get
had to.
Okay.
I don't really want to
Great.
involve him in this. That is not
Perfect.
fair to him.
Why?
That's not, no, if I do not have to do that.
That's fine.
Yeah, so anyways, Chris was like, call me.
And this is the 3:45.
So she throws it
Yeah,
off.
he sent me like a few. I think there was 3 of them, and I don't remember what the other one said. But something about like, yeah, my family's gone, or I don't remember verbatim, but call me when you can, or call me when you have a chance. Something to that effect. And so when he told me call me, I was like kind of alerted, where I was like, okay, what's going on, you know? But first when he told me like his family was like not home, that didn't really seem odd
He said
to me,
go-
that his family wasn't home. It was really
Gone.
vague. I'm like, okay, like, are they at the grocery store? Like, elaborate. And so, you know, and then, but he says, call me like it's like an emergency, but then just says that they're not there. And so I'm like really like floored by that. Well, not like floored, but just kind of like, he says, call me, so I'm concerned. And then he's really vague, so I'm like, maybe he just wants to talk to me. I don't know. I think it took me a little while to like really process the severity of the situation, just because this is not something that you expect to see every day. And the way that he talked to me made me believe that this is not what was going on at all.
Okay, so you make a phone call to him and you guys have a conversation.
I did. I stepped outside.
To Chris.
This is 3:45.
Ish.
Why did she step outside if she didn't care that Jim knew about Chris? She stepped outside when Jim was there at her house to talk to Chris. Why?
I mean, well, like, I think I actually interacted with Jim for, like, probably a good 15 or 20 minutes. I mean, he's my guest. He's in my house. So I don't think I called
That's
him
shady.
right
I'm just-
away, But, like, I mean, I'm trying to balance the fact that I have my friend here, and then Chris is saying that...
For me, if I call a friend, a female friend, which I do have female friends, not best friends, but if I'm going to call them, I'm going to call them in front of my fiance. Why would I step out to call them? Just think.
something needs to be addressed, but to me, it didn't sound like an emergency. I mean, it's all the time, like, people...
She just said it sounded like an emergency.
Right now. You know, so it just... It wasn't like, oh my God, I have to take this call.
It
It's an
didn't register
emergency.
as being
No,
critical.
no. I mean, it was the way he said it. And I was like, okay. So I remember hanging out with Jim for a while, and then I stepped outside, and I made a call, like, out on my back patio. And I called him. And he didn't answer the phone. And then he texted me back. Oh, no. Did he answer the phone? I don't remember. I think he missed my call.
Chris did call her and say, hey, come over to the house after the police had all left and stuff like that, which was in the documents that Chris had called Nichol for her to come over to the house after the police and all that stuff had left.
And then he called me back, or he just answered. Either way, it was a very short talk to him where he was just like, I have to go. The cops are here. And I don't remember if he said that on the phone or or over text. I
That's
don't
okay.
even. I'm so tired.
That's fine. You don't.
But
need
either
the
way,
different-
like,
it's
the
just
cops-
The context.
Yeah, I mean, you guys will figure it out. The cops.
You guys will figure
the
it
cops
out.
are here, and I'm just like, all right. And then I remember we were like we were texting, but I was like hanging out with my company, so it wasn't like a nonstop text. It was just kind of like I would check my phone every once in a while, and we would communicate with each other. And he was just saying like they weren't there, and that her friend Nikki was there, and that her
Nichol
friend Nikki
Kessinger.
had called the cops. And I'm like, why would this girl call the cops? And like, I honestly do not remember the order of operations on all of this, but
So on Zavvy Girl, which this was the Leave Jim Alone, we get more of a dissecting of Jim and who he is. I would love to talk to Zavvy Girl, so if anybody can get a hold of her, I would definitely love to talk to her, but I've messaged her myself. So, but let's take a look at it and see what he has, or what she has to say about Jim as well.
Talk a little bit about Jim.
Let's talk about him.
And Kay's
Gutowski?
best
Gutowski?
friend or really good friend. Remember that information I was talking about on a live? I think that was like last week, maybe.
Which was 3 years ago.
And I started reading it to you during the live, and then I realized, shoot, I better read it all ahead of time to make sure what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not allowed to say. So I promised I would make a quick video for you guys. So
We just can't say house, address. We can't say phone number, social security number, which I don't have. All that stuff to that extent. His name, let alone, is public records. So we can't say those things that I've looked into legal purposes, because I'm just doing this for educational to make sure we can find out more evidence. But that's why I want to put out there.
So that's what I'm going to do. That's what this is about. So
Do people really at 33 years old do duck faces still? I'm just throwing that out there. That's more like a kid, teen, 20-year-old thing, not 33-year-old. I don't know of a lot of 33-year-olds that do that.
we know NK's friend Jim, the Leave Jim Alone guy. There's not a lot of information on him, just like there's not a lot of information on NK. I wonder if they did damage control on him, just like they did on NK.
You can't find much about him anymore.
NK talks about that multiple times in her interviews about doing this damage control, which consists of basically wiping the internet clean, like wiping all the information off of social media, calling everybody that knows her and telling them not to talk to the media, telling them to take off any pictures they have on social media or any information they have, telling them to basically delete it or remove it from the internet. So I just wonder if they did that for Jim too. There is some,
But
though.
why?
So I had gotten an email. Let me give a shout out to Rachel and Tom. Thank you for the information. So they actually live in the same city that Jim grew up in, and they have a friend whose older brother went to school with Jim and went to college.
So
with
we know
Jim.
he's real.
So we have a little bit of information, not a whole bunch, but it's more than I've seen out there. But like I said, I haven't really been looking into this case.
You guys wanted me to look into the
It's
Jim.
almost been a year or maybe over a year. So I don't know, maybe
Been 5 years
new
now.
stuff has come out about him, and maybe this is old news, and maybe you guys already have seen these pictures. There's just a few pictures, and well, actually no, because this is like a personal comment that somebody made about him. It's not a ton of information, but it is information. So, okay, let's see here. We're going to start off by, I'll kind of go over some of the stuff she said. So, she said, after further discussing things with one of her best friends who also grew up in the
Charlotte.
same city, they discovered that her friend's older sibling went to high school with Jim and had classes with him. She was able to get yearbook pictures. So I wanted to make sure I said this first, because she made a point to reiterate this. She says, for the record, that she has no personal relationship with Jim or the Gutowski family in general. Everything she has found and shared with me, which I'm sharing with you, has been from Google searches available to the public. So it's all
Which
public
I did as well.
information. So, and a little bit of Facebook research, and you know how you could get
It's
into
very
Facebook,
limited.
you can find posts from family members and friends of friends, and
And when you go to Twitter post or when you go to connecting Facebook post, everything is suspended from a different account. Just saying.
it's all public, but you just got to do the work and make those connections.
Yeah,
So
that's why we're
what
doing this.
video is all public knowledge. And then, of course, her friend's older brother has a little bit of an opinion about his experience with Jim, or what he thinks of Jim. We'll get to that. Okay, so
Very
let me just
weird.
finish this statement here. So she said, yeah, basically anybody with Facebook can see this information, and there's yearbook photos. So his says underneath his picture in the yearbook, it says, "Note to self, I say so too much and I don't look like Mr. Benedict." So agree, he was a funny guy, but morally had some issues with him. Not in a path I was cool being in. Huh.
Interesting.
Makes you wonder, because remember what Chris said in that book, The Letters from Christopher. Some of the stuff that was in that book that he said about
Her group of
NK's
friends.
group of friends, which Jim would have been one of her top,
because he was the best friend.
One of her best friends, she even said. So it makes you
Wonder
what kind of people are NK and Jim.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember what Chris said in that book, Letters from Christopher, when Sherilyn was interviewing him and talking to him, some of the stuff he said was her group of friends were what, like they got into some bad things. I forget the exact
witchcraft,
word, basically
satanic,
they were into dark things. They were just kind of like a bad group of people. They were just into some weird things, just some things that he said were so bad that he didn't even want to repeat them. At least that's what he made it seem like. Okay, I went and got the book. I already have.
I've been reading both books.
Out of my bag so I could read exactly what he says. So it says Chris.
And I'm also talking with Cheryl on email, so hopefully we'll get that taken care of soon.
Christopher says really bad things went on in Nikki's house. Things he is very ashamed of. Some of the things Christopher says he will take to the grave.
Threesome? Just maybe possibly.
I know there's also another part where he talks about.
But apparently they didn't know about each other.
Being kind of like a bad crowd. Even though he supposedly never met them, but I'm sure he heard a lot about them from NK. So he said that he hadn't got a chance to meet any of them yet. Remember? Didn't he say that he was about to meet some of them? And he even talks about Jim, like he knows who Jim is and stuff.
But Jim didn't know about
NK,
Chris,
I'm sure,
apparently.
had probably talked about him a lot, I bet. I mean, that was her best friend. He definitely was aware of him. But anyway.
So your phone this time, do you have any objections to us looking at everything in your phone?
Why do you even need that? I'm just curious. Like, why do you need everything?
That's sketchy in itself.
Well, because it's easier to get it. And if we're looking at all the material, let's say I take everything off your phone, I can put a date in, like let's say August 10th through the 15th, because those are critical days. But other conversations between you and Chris, or other text messages between you and Chris from June or July, then it makes it harder for me to find all those.
No, I mean, like, the other day, my dad and I decided to do some damage control because a lot of people were like, hey, please call me, I don't know what to say, and I just told them all, like,
which was
I
Jim.
didn't say anything. I pretty much just said, if managers contact you, tell them no comment. It's like, please be nice to them. You do not need to talk to them. It was like, I'm safe, not in trouble, and breaking laws. And I was just like, just send your love and support, and that was all I said to people.
So did that prompt all the phone calls of people going,
no,
are you okay?
They were prompting me.
Right.
That is why I did that, because I didn't even want to like say that, but I was getting all sorts of texts from people that were like, media's trying to contact me, I don't know what to do. I didn't tell them that I was a witness. I didn't tell them anything about that. It was just like, just say no comment. I need you to do this.
Okay.
And then a couple of my like super close friends, I asked them if they would be courteous enough to take all
Charlotte and Jim
each other off Facebook and social media, and they said yes. And that was like a couple of really close friends.
Is there anything that would be concerning regarding this case?
No.
Like talking about Chris, I think you told me that you've never even really talked with
my friends about him. No, and like my friend's dad died last night, like yesterday.
Here comes this
No,
bull
I
crap.
know, but
And then back to the information about Jim. So Jim started off at Oshkosh and then transferred to Milwaukee. She's basing that on the information she found on Google. Because if you look at the address, he had an address 2001, which she's assuming he transferred down there after his first year of college. Because his address changed to Milwaukee address.
That's what his phone says.
College, so it makes sense. And then also, she found that he worked for Green Geological Gallery in 2003. And she looked that up and found a Green Geological Museum in Milwaukee, which appears to be a part of the University of Milwaukee. Which she
did a lot of, like,
there
stalking.
during college. And then she also found Jim's dad, which his name is Gerald Gutowski. He also studied geology at University of Oshkosh and graduated in 1978. It appears he was an earth science teacher. And then another interesting thing that she noticed is, well, let me just say this real quick. This email is probably a few months old, so I'm not sure if this is still true, but as far as when she sent this to me, she said that Jim stopped commenting or liking his own family's public Facebook posts.
He went into
He
hiding,
used to comment or like quite a bit beforehand,
which is very
So
weird.
she says, just observation. Maybe it means nothing, but it could, and I get that. I could see that because his name was out there quite a bit. Well, I mean, this case is still pretty big. At least, the first year it was.
It's
so
still
much,
big, and it's
then
5
it
years.
Slowly started fading out, and then.
So the weird thing is looking at different posts and comments that a lot of people found it very interesting that now Jim supposedly came into town to stay with Nichol on the day of the murders and the night of the murders, especially after seeing Nichole's reoccurring morning phone calls to Jim's phone, which a lot of people think that is a burner phone that Chris and them got from Milwaukee because it had Milwaukee on there. Where she had called Chris right after as well, hanging up after Jim, vice versa. She was calling like Chris and then Jim and then Chris and then Jim and then Chris and Jim. It was weird. The phone, it even states here, phone number could have been just from a burner phone. It did state it was a Milwaukee 414 area code, which is registered to Wisconsin. It's just funny that little bits and pieces of this Jim come up the day before or the night before and the morning of, and then after that, Jim goes back home. Coincidence or not? Is it an alibi or an accomplice? What do you guys think about Jim? Was he involved? Was he an alibi? Is Jim even real? Jim is real. Obviously, we know that. But is Jim used during this time as a cover-up that Nichol wasn't in the area of Frederick, Colorado, but then she was, because that's why her phone pinged that morning. Again, we can only give so much evidence that we have because it's all public that we can get right now. But obviously, over time, hopefully, we'll start getting other things that undress of Nichol and Chris Watts and the dark things that apparently Nichol was involved with Jim and possibly other people. So please leave your comments down below. Let me know your guys' thoughts about Jim and his involvement, alibi or accomplice. Please keep it positive. Again, we don't want to do this for bullying or anything like that. We're just looking to educate ourselves and possibly see that this case gets reopened, reevaluated, reinvestigated, and that's what our hopes are. So again, I thank you guys for watching. Please take care, be safe, and we will see you guys in the next video. So again, keep it real, keep it safe, and as always, keep nerding on, and we'll see you guys next time.